When they finally finished with me, they let me look at myself in the mirror, and I was absolutely amazed. It wasn't the first time I'd seen myself dressed and groomed as a girl, but this was so much more. I honestly couldn't even recognize myself. The girl in the mirror was another person, a complete woman, a gorgeous teenager with wavy, slightly below the shoulders, dark brown hair with highlights, long eyelashes, totally feminine features, and a body most of the girls I know would envy. I was fascinated by my reflection in the mirror, but at the same time, I was scared because I realized my life was going to change irrevocably. After seeing and feeling myself like this, it wouldn't be possible to go back to being the invisible boy I had been until that trip. How could I explain to my mom or dad what I was feeling? Even I didn't understand. It didn't make any sense to feel so good and happy about being a girl if I didn't even like men. Turned into a court girl for a quinceañera party. Part 4. In my mind, it wasn't logical or possible. If I didn't like men, I shouldn't feel so good about seeing myself as a girl. I imagine my expression changed because at that moment, Mariana asked me, "Don't you like how you look? You look beautiful." "No, it's not that," I replied. "Yes, I do, just I don't know." My aunt, who had already paid, overheard the conversation and hurried over to discreetly pull us away so no one would hear us. "You have to be very careful what you talk about. You can't risk anyone getting suspicious. It would cause a scandal, and that would be the end of it." By then, we'd walked a little further away. She leaned toward me and asked, "What happened? Don't you like how you look?" I hesitated for a moment. I wanted to tell her that I didn't like seeing myself like that I didn't feel good, that I shouldn't be a girl, but I couldn't. "It's not that. I do like it, but I don't know if I can," I said, almost crying. "I understand that all of this is new for you and it's a lot of responsibility because you're saving us all, and that can be scary." I nodded, unable or unwilling to explain what was really worrying me. "But you're not alone, we're all with you, we all support you, and we all trust you." She said this to encourage me. That only made me feel more compelled to continue. "Of course you'll be able to, and in the process, you have the unique opportunity to live an extraordinary experience." I remained silent, trying to understand what she was saying. Not only did it not change my worries at all, but it added to the weight of everyone's commitment. "And when it's over?" I asked her. "When it's over, like Cinderella, the carriage turns into a pumpkin, the horses into mice, and the princess is back to how she was before." I wanted to believe her, thinking that this was temporary and that when the party was over, everything would return to normal made me feel calmer. "Have you seen how beautiful we look?" my aunt said, showing us our reflection in a store window. "What do you think about going somewhere nice to eat? Maybe we'll even hook up with a guy who'll treat us," she said playfully. "Yes, let's go to J Prime. The best looking guys are always there," Mariana said, smiling. The thought terrified me. "No, but relax, it's a joke," my aunt said. "We're just going to eat. No one is going to treat us to anything." I calmed down a little. "Although, since you're that pretty, I wouldn't be surprised at all," she commented softly as we started walking. I hesitated again, but Mariana pulled me and said, "Don't listen to her. She's just playing with you." When we arrived, I was still worried that someone might see through my disguise, that they'd realize I was just a boy dressed as a girl. From the car to the restaurant, with every step I felt the movement of my skirt and the wind on my legs. I heard the ticking of my heels, and the hardest part, my hair, which now reached below my shoulders and moved in the slightest breeze. I had to stop it with both hands, and even though it was only a few steps, I felt ridiculous walking like that, hands on my head. So, as soon as we entered, I threw my head back and, in a move that came across as extremely feminine, rearranged my hair and had to reach down with a hand to stop the skirt that was being lifted by the last gust of wind. It was at that moment that I felt everyone's eyes. For a moment, it was as if the whole place fell silent and everyone was staring at me. I was about to run away, but Mariana and my aunt didn't seem to notice anything, and although I can assure you that more than one person was staring at me, when the initial sensation passed, I saw that everyone was minding their own business and no one was paying any special attention to us. I thought it was all in my head and relaxed a little. At that moment, a handsome waiter led us to our table, saying, "This way, ladies, please." Trying to imitate my cousin's movements, I smoothed my skirt as I sat down and tried to keep my knees together as the young man handed us menus and took our drink orders. My aunt responded, obviously flirting with the waiter, "Please bring the ladies a non-alcoholic piña colada, and for me, can I have a double sex on the beach, please?" My cousin and I just laughed, a little embarrassed. The meal turned out to be very nice, although I felt a little overwhelmed by the attention, especially when my aunt took the opportunity to toast to all the help I was providing them into the new beginnings. I interpreted this as just her way of thanking me, although it wasn't clear to me what she meant by new beginnings. We chatted about everything while I tried to keep my legs crossed so as not to show too much, and my aunt kept sneaking glances at the waiter, who, being much younger than her, tried to avoid her gaze. At one point, Mariana came over and said, "I swear that guy at the bar just undressed you with his eyes, Jessie." I couldn't help but let out an awkward laugh as I tucked my hair behind my ear. "I thought he was looking at you," I replied. Her mom chimed in, smiling but with her head tilted slightly. "Oh, honey, he was looking at you." Men love that touch of innocence. But don't get too confident, you're still learning. My smile faded for a second. Of course. I mean, the truth is, I'm not. Oh my god. Pull yourself together, girl. You're too sensitive. My aunt said desperately. Then she came closer and, more discreetly, said to me, "That's why I brought you, so you can get used to it, because that's life when you're such a pretty girl." Then she said to Mariana, "Take her to the bathroom so she can look in the mirror and convince herself that she has no reason to be so nervous." Mariana stood up at that moment and signaled me to follow her to the bathroom. On the way, I couldn't help but feel everyone's stares. There was no one else in the bathroom. Mariana showed me my reflection in the mirror. "Don't pay attention to her. The thing is, you look gorgeous, and you know how she is. She always wants us to know everything and be like her, as if we were born knowing." I nodded as I looked at two gorgeous girls in the mirror, unable to believe I was one of them. "Don't worry, the truth is, if you weren't my cousin, I'd be jealous." "Thank you, I guess." When we got back, the waiter was leaving 2 more piña coladas for us and another sex on the beach for my aunt. I thought it was strange that she would tip him in cash right then and there instead of waiting to pay the bill. My aunt raised her glass again, to being irresistible, no matter what stage we're at. Mariana and I toasted, uncomfortably with her mother's attitude. The piña colada tasted a little different to me, not as sweet, but I didn't think much of it. A few minutes later, our food and another round of drinks were served. For some reason, I felt more relaxed, more confident, and my cousin was also more talkative and cheerful than usual, which attracted more glances at the table. Another round arrived, and then another. We had a very pleasant time, even though my aunt continued flirting with every man who passed by and constantly pointed out boys who were staring at us. For some reason, her comments weren't bothering me as much anymore. Even when Mariana pointed at one of them, she said, "Oh Jessie, you can't deny that he's gorgeous." I must admit that I had started noticing the guy's stares, even before my aunt pointed them out. But although some of them were like models, tall, well-dressed, strong, and with interesting styles, the truth is, I didn't feel any attraction to them. On the contrary, next to one of them, I discovered a beautiful girl. She was about my height, with long black hair styled in a long ponytail, and she was wearing a little black dress. She looked effortlessly gorgeous. I couldn't help but stare at her and even smile when our eyes met. I guess I made her feel uncomfortable because my aunt immediately scolded me. "Don't stare at her. Do you want to look like the odd one out?" God, I thought we were moving forward, but from the looks of it, there's a lot more work to do. Let's go before we make fools of ourselves here. Just when the guy in the gray jacket was about to come and introduce himself, my aunt said, making me feel like I'd blown her chance. She asked for the check and paid. As we left, I felt slightly dizzy. I think Mariana did too, because she tripped a couple of times on the way to the car. On the way back, my aunt called the dress shop. "Yes Megan, just to let you know that one of the girls had an accident and we're going to have to replace her. Don't worry, they're the same size. I think she'll just need a few adjustments, but that's why I'm calling, to see if you need me to bring her in to get her measured." Yes, that would be important, because you know, every body is different, especially among girls. Megan replied, "The problem is I don't have any time in my schedule." "But do you have her full name? Maybe she's tried on a prom dress or something, and I have her measurements in my database." "Oh, sure." My aunt said, "Yes, she is my niece, remember? You already have her measurements, but, I don't know, I think she's changed a little in the last few weeks." I thought that since I am a man, my aunt probably meant that, even if I didn't notice, my back might be wider or that I clearly wouldn't have Helen's hips, but the call continued. "Of course," Megan said, remembering, "you could tell she was at that point where everything changes for girls. And now, I found her information. Mariana, right?" "Yes. How different from Hellen is she?" "Well, she's generally thinner, she lacks development, but from the looks of her, I bet you that between now and the party, she'll fill out the dress without any problem. Or haven't you noticed any changes?" My aunt looked at me in the mirror. "Yes, now that you mention it, I have. So we don't even have to worry about it. On the day of the delivery, you can make any necessary adjustments. See you." Honestly, nothing was clear to me. How did they expect me to fill out Helen's dress? It didn't make sense. If it belonged to one of the other girls, maybe, but Helen's? I approached Mariana and asked her, "How do they think I'm going to fill out that dress?" She just laughed and said, "Don't worry, cousin. I'm sure my mom has something planned. Or who knows, maybe you're actually turning into a girl." She thought it was funny. I laughed a little, but it didn't give me much peace of mind. We went straight home to sleep. As was becoming customary, in all my dreams, I appeared as a girl. In some, from my childhood, playing in kindergarten in a princess dress. Others were of more recent events, with my cousin and my entire group of friends, but always, as a girl, it was as if Jerry were disappearing from my subconscious. Sunday was relatively peaceful. We got up, and my training began. After bathing, my cousin began showing me how to use the hairdryer, which was much more difficult than I imagined because I'd never had hair that long, much less styled that well. Afterward, she sat me in front of her mirror and we went over the basic makeup steps, but this time she had me apply at least concealer, blush, mascara, and lipstick. She helped me with the eyeliner, but told me I had to learn because that was the minimum I could take out each morning, even if it was just to take out the trash. Mariana gave me the chance to choose the outfit of the day, underwear. My first choice was a black dress, similar to the one she'd worn the day before, but she told me it was too much, that if we was just going out for breakfast and coming back home, I should choose something more casual. So I pulled out a pleated denim skirt, but I didn't know what to pair it with. She ended up choosing a crocheted sleeveless pink top and flats. She wore only hip-hugging jeans and a black ribbed t-shirt, and we went out for the traditional family breakfast, which my aunt wanted to make into a big deal, although the truth is it wasn't traditional and it wasn't family-oriented either. Because Bernie spent the weekends with his dad. Let's just say it was more of an invention to manipulate Mariana into not going with her dad. It was an especially beautiful day. The morning was sunny but cool, with a pleasant breeze that made me particularly aware of a series of new sensations. The air on my legs, the sun on my shoulders, the movement of my hair, and inevitably the occasional furtive glance from some young man. I can't deny that all of this was pleasant and even exciting, because they made me feel attractive, and at the same time they were looking at me. I could look at the girl they were with or some other girl who caught my eye. Until something started to bother me. At first, I didn't know exactly what it was until I noticed the unwelcome dirty looks of a man who took advantage of his wife's distraction to look me up and down. I immediately felt exposed and vulnerable. How could a simple glance be so unpleasant? After that, we returned home, and my aunt told Mariana, "I'm going to have visitors and I don't want to be interrupted, so take advantage of the time and teach Jessie how to do her own hair and makeup." The rest of the day, Mariana dedicated it to teaching me. We spent several hours styling my hair with a hairdryer and a blow dryer. At least I learned how to do a simple wavy hairstyle and a ponytail. That was progress. When we got hungry, my aunt was still locked in her room with the anesthesiologist, so we took advantage of the opportunity to have her teach me how to make vegetable soup and some paper-cut fish fillets. After lunch, Aida arrived and joined Mariana on the mission to teach me how to do my makeup. They showed me how to apply each product, from concealers and foundations to different types of eyeliners and eyeshadows. They allowed me to experiment with different styles. I would finish, remove my makeup, and start over. Daytime makeup, evening makeup, cocktail makeup, even some ridiculously over-the-top ones. We spent the whole afternoon on it and ended up laughing a lot, but I definitely learned enough to take care of my own makeup from then on. By the time Aida left, it was practically nighttime. My aunt came out only to tell us to prepare some dinner for ourselves and Bernie, who was arriving soon, and to rest because my formal training would begin the next day. So we did, and then, already in our nightgowns, my cousin showed me the routine of removing our makeup and moisturizing our skin before bed. I had never before realized everything girls have to do to look good. That's all for today. If you've gotten this far and enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. If you visit the channel, you'll find other stories you might enjoy.